Hello, One Latin students. So, the next chapter that we have, chapter 6, is dealing with a really important concept that we'll consistently look at and analyze for the next 3 years that we have Latin. It's something called adjective noun agreement. So, when we use the term agreement, we're really talking about the genders that we have for the nouns, which are masculine, feminine, and neuter. We haven't had very many neuter nouns, only a couple tempora, like as in brevi tempora, in a short time. And on the top of your papers, I always write the word nomen, which means name. So we haven't had that many, but there are three genders. So when we want to have adjectives modify those nouns and describe them more carefully, the adjective has to agree with the noun, and it's going to do it in three ways. It's going to do it in gender, masculine, feminine, or neuter. It's going to do it in number, and number means if it's singular or plural. So if I want to describe the girls, puelai, I have to make sure that my adjective also has a plural and feminine ending, puelai. And then the third element that nouns and adjectives agree is something called case. So cases. I talked about this a bit in the schematizing video that I posted a few weeks back. Nouns and adjectives are grouped into primarily five major cases. The nominative case, which is used to indicate the subject or the complement of the sentence. The genitive case, which shows possession and to which noun the declension belongs to. And, to which declension the noun belongs to. Dative case, which is used for indirect objects. The accusative case, which is used for direct objects and prepositional phrases. This is the one that we've been focusing on in chapter 5, where the nouns end in M. And then the ablative case, where we have strictly just prepositional phrases, often without a Latin preposition. For example, brevi tempora or I state, where we translate those as in a short time and in summer, but the word in is not used in Latin. And then we also have something called the vocative case. Vocative is where you're directly addressing someone, like I am to you. If I were to say, students, comma, please take out your papers. Students would be in the vocative case. For the most part, vocative is identical to the nominative, the subject form. But for those nouns like Marcus and Sextus and Cornelius that end in US, for some reason, when you're talking directly to them, the US changes to an E. So you get Marca and Sexta. So Marca, are you going to school today? As opposed to Marcus. And then for a name like Cornelius, where it ends in IUS, you just chop off the US and leave the I, so you get Corneli. So those are our cases. And we're only going to be focusing for a while on the nominative case and the accusative case. But we need to know this concept of cases when we're talking about adjective-noun agreement. Okay, so in addition to these cases, as I've talked about, our nouns are grouped into categories called declensions. And so declensions are endings, a set of endings that each noun follows and can only follow the declension to which it belongs. So for example, the word puella is a first declension feminine noun. So its endings are a, ae, am. We've seen that, and they're feminine. A word like Marcus is second declension, and it's masculine. So its endings are like Marcus, Marquis, Marcum. And then there's this third group, third declension, which we can't really look at it and determine the gender, but we can memorize the gender to help us. So we get words like wokes, wokus, wokem, which means voice. All the family members that we had, like soror, sororis, sororem, fragorem, patrem, matrem. So these end in em for that accusative form. And for those nouns, we have to memorize the gender. The only ones that we can be rest assured that we know are the ones that are family relationships. So if it's a stereotypically male thing like uncle, dad, grandpa, those are going to be masculine by gender. And if it's a traditionally stereotypical female, then it's going to have that feminine gender like mother, sister, aunt. Okay, but if I want to make words modify those words, I need to remember those three elements: gender of the noun, number of the noun, is it singular or plural, and case of the noun, is it the subject of the sentence or is it the direct object of the sentence? And so that's what we're going to be focusing on in chapter 6. So one thing I want to talk about, though, is don't think that the endings have to exactly look alike in order for them to agree. For example, if I want to say the happy voice. I would say the light Tom, A-M, wokem, V-O-C-E-M, and that's in the direct object form, the accusative form. So the endings don't match, A-M to E-M, but they agree in gender, feminine, case, they're both accusative, and number, they're both singular. So this is the concept that we're going to be talking about in chapter 6, and then again in chapter 17, and again in chapter 18. So it's something that we spend a lot of time on.